Welcome, everyone. I sound like I'm introing for like a kids show. What is up? Hey, it's press play again, and we're here to press play again with you guys because that's what we call this. But we are here because we watched a very special movie, and that movie's name is Minari, and we want to talk about it with everyone, or at least have a discussion, and then have y'all discuss it with us because it's a cool movie. It's a cool ass movie. I'm already giving away how I feel about it. Anyway, that's what we're here to do today. I'm Bailey, and joining me is Matt Austin and Omar Zaki. What's up, fellas?
Did this movie make y'all want to like be farmers? Because I'd be totally down to like open up a farm.
Kind of.
Really? It didn't stress the hell out of you?
It did, but it looked at times rewarding. At other times, it looks like it could crush your spirits and bring you fucking, down into the very dirt that your crops are coming out of. But
it's one of those things
nevertheless,
where
I'm ready for a challenge. You know what I mean?
Seems stressful, but at the same time, super peaceful. Like, does no one bother you? Do you just have like a crazy man that comes and kind of like guides you?
I think that's what
like a sensei of sorts. If so, I'm cool with it. That's the life I'd probably want to live.
Bailey, don't freak out. I just saw something move across your wall.
It's okay. It was a dust feather thing. I saw it too. It flew in front of my face actually, but
I thought it was an animal.
No, it was dust. Yeah, this room is taller than my old room, so now that I'm back home, in the dirty dell, I can't reach my ceiling to dust.
Where's that?
So,
where are you?
I'm in the dirty dell, and if people don't know what that means, it doesn't matter. So.
It's like, okay, we'll go with it.
I'm in Slidell, Louisiana, probably where you can find a farm like the one we watched in this movie.
Full circle.
Honestly, actually, not even. Like, we don't even have that much land out here to do.
Well, the interesting thing is, this movie was filmed in Slidell, Louisiana. So
holy shit!
All that you see, absolutely not. I'm just kidding.
The funny thing is, there's certain things Omar can do that he has the straightest face and says it with the straightest tone of voice. That I'm like, this I know is a lie, but I want to believe him. That's usually how the conversation goes. But anyway, yeah, we're here. We're talking about this movie. Before we get into the movie, though, I'm going to give us all the stuff that we need to just talk about and give to you guys about information of where you can find us, which on social media is Twitter @AgainPress and Instagram @PressPlayAgain. We post fun things. Go look at it and follow us, and you will get updates on when we post anything or what we're posting or fun polls you can interact with.
Who won?
Who doesn't like a good poll?
Out of me as King Kong, Omar as Godzilla, and just Tobey Maguire as himself. I think Tobey Maguire.
I think so. On Insta, I think I won. On Twitter, Tobey Maguire definitely dominated.
Damn.
As he should.
Actually, I have 2 polls running right now, so make sure you go vote.
Yeah, go do that. On the 2 social medias that I just named. And if you want to listen to us instead of watching us, which I kind of understand sometimes, you can on Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and most importantly, Apple Podcasts. And why is that important? Because you should probably rate us and give us 5 stars and leave a comment because that would be super freaking dope. So do that. We're going to be coming at you hot on Thursday with the new recap of Falcon and Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier Thursdays, or Thursdays with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Whatever you want to call it, that's what we're doing. So come and join us for that, and we can talk about the movie now, because I think I'm done. So, Minari, we'll dive into this by saying what you were expecting with this movie, if you weren't expecting anything, and how you kind of felt after you watched the movie. We'll have like a nice little first reaction kind of thing. So I'm going to start with you, Omi.
Okay. So I've wanted to watch this movie for the past 3 months. When it first came out, it was nowhere to be found, theaters-wise. You literally had to reserve a spot on their website to watch it, and it was only available for like fucking 4 hours once you were in there. Like, let's say, yeah, like you literally reserve it. Yeah, you couldn't rent it. You had to reserve it, like, let's say at 7:20, they had blocks, and it was like 4-hour blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And with Jay's schedule, it was just a no-go. So when you guys said it was in theaters, I lost my mind. So I actually watch a lot of K-drama. Okay, for you guys that don't know, it's South Korean drama. I sure do. And when I tell you, because so far I think the only two Korean movies I've seen are these. If you want to call this a Korean movie, it's about a Korean family in America, but I'm gonna say it's a Korean movie. This and Parasite. The movies are like it's completely a whole new, like it's a whole other scene than from the K dramas. K dramas are very dramatic. They're very like, oh
Is
my
it
god,
like
what's going on?
soap
This that.
opera kind of stuff?
Absolutely. Out of
Awesome.
everything, tripping, slow motion, walking down the stairs, slow motion, dramatic
Oh
as hell. The
God.
music's blasting. Whereas the movies, I think they're a lot. I'm not gonna say they're more well made, but
Mhm.
it's a new scene for me. One that I
Yeah.
really like, and I think the movie definitely lived up to my expectations. I think the actors were great from the youngest to the oldest. I really enjoyed just watching everyone because it's not like they were interacting with a whole ass community and multiple people. It's not like there was a list of people in this movie, right? It was
Right.
this family and then a few select others. Um, and they carried it really fucking well. So I really enjoyed this movie, and I definitely made like it reminded me of my childhood and just having come because yeah, as you guys know, like yeah, I was raised here, but I also spent the first few years of my life like in Egypt, and then coming here was definitely like a transition. So I definitely
Right.
like I connected with it on that level, which I thought was cool. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. How
That's
about you guys?
dope. That was so good, Ohms.
Oh,
I really appreciate that. Matt, try and top it. I doubt you will, but
you got it, buddy.
As a white boy that has lived
There we go.
in America his whole life, but you know what I mean. So like, that's not where the draw for this movie was. It's not like I can say like my childhood was anything like these kids' childhood, or that my father had to like move us here to better our family or anything like that. So that's not something that like pulls into my childhood and makes me feel emotions that I already have. Whereas for me, it's like seeing the story play out. It's told so well that even not having that experience growing up at all, I felt that it's told in such a way where like I instantly connected with these characters, right? Like, I mean, I instantly understood why, forgive me, like I'm forgetting all of their names, but the dad, like
we can go through it real quick
yeah,
while you're
let's,
mentioning that. Okay, so we have the director was Lee Isaac Chung, who I looked at his movies and I haven't seen anything else, but good director. He also wrote the movie, which is awesome. And then we have Stephen Yoon as the main
Jacob.
character. He's Jacob. We got Noel Cho, that's Anne, who's the daughter. And then Yuri, I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names. I think I'm doing okay, though. Yuri Han, that's Monica, who's the mom. And then Alan Kim, that's
Is
David,
David.
who's the son.
Right. So I instantly understood like this feeling that the father Jacob has of like, I want to do what's better for my family. Like, I don't want my kids like to always have to see their father just like, it doesn't matter if we're making enough money to get by, right? Like if I'm just like looking at chickens' asses all day and just like throwing them in pots, like what kind of life is this? What kind of like vision of their father do these kids have? And to like uproot his family and move them to, where are they at again? Is it Delaware?
I want
Or
to say
Isn't it
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Like to do that for the betterment of his family in the long. I know, right? I'm just pulling places out
They
of my
drove
ass.
from there to Dallas. Can you imagine? Dude.
Oh my god. Hey, I've never claimed that geography is my strong suit, guys. In fact, I think the first test I ever failed as a kid, in second or third grade,
The
geography,
states.
I got like a fucking 40 on it. I got like hundreds on
Nice.
everything till then. That was the downfall of my life. I think I misplaced one of them. I got one wrong and just domino effect. The rest of them all wrong. But yeah, so like to me, this all of it just felt so real, and like I understood it. And there's all these conflicting emotions, right? Of like this marriage that's then teetering. Like it's like they love their kids and they're there for each other, but at times it felt very like loveless. And then her mom coming and stayed with them kind of revitalized some of that, but not really their relationship, right? And it was just to see all of that play out. And I'm not going to like get into the end because we're going to talk about the end. But like the way that all of that kind of happened throughout the movie, I was just there gripped the entire time, right? And I feel like that's just a testament to how well it's told, how well it was acted. And it's cool when you have a movie like this where the plot doesn't necessarily go to like all these drastic places. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of a snapshot of this family living their life, and some crazy things happened to them during that time. But this movie like had me drawn in the entire time. You know, I didn't think there was really a dull moment.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I really loved it.
Damn, awesome. I'm glad you guys liked it. I liked it a lot too. I feel like This was the most realistic family movie I've seen in a really long time. Like seeing the dynamic of a family trying to like raise their kids the right way, but like teach them lessons and also being kind of like a fish out of water situation. And just saving the relationships of all of the family in general, plus dealing with like what their son's going through. It's like I can't imagine being a parent and having to deal with a fear like that. But yeah, I think it was like so realistic, and so in that sense, anybody can kind of vibe with this movie in a good way because you, as a kid, know like and have seen your parents go through struggles, and I don't know. I find it really charming. And I kept like waiting for something like absolutely horrific to happen.
Me too.
Like the whole movie, I'm like, they're all about to get murdered or something. Like something,
Oh,
they're in the
okay.
backwoods of Arkansas. Like something's happening. And I was waiting on the edge of my seat and then nothing, spoilers for the end, but they don't get murdered. So that's good. But yeah, I found it just like unbelievably charming and heartwarming in the weirdest way because it's not exactly like this grand successful story that's told. Like he doesn't get like his absolute dream at the end, and like the mom and dad are still kind of struggling but a little better at the end, and like the only good thing is like what happens with the son, but other than that it's not like this fairy tale ending. And I think that's way better because that's like how real life is and like real stories are with families. Like it's never a fairy tale ending, but what matters is your relationship with your family. So I loved it. I thought that was absolutely beautiful, and it was a beautiful way that the story was told. So I would agree with you guys. I thought it was great.
Three
So yeah,
likes.
we can talk about the actual movie now. So we can just dive into that. Stephen Yeun, if I'm saying his last name right, I'm not sure. Absolutely phenomenal actor. I loved him in Walking Dead. I did like so much, and now
He's having a year,
he's
huh?
in Invincible.
Jeez, he
sure
is.
Yeah, he's having. I'm sorry. Everyone slams the doors in my house. It's
We
just
can't hear a
like,
thing. So
Yeah.
you're fine.
okay, good.
Thank you, Discord.
I don't know what's wrong. It's like everybody's always in a bad mood, and you think that, and then I walk out. I'm
Well,
like,
that's
"Is
probably
everyone
because you moved
okay?"
back
And
into
they're
the house.
Like, fuck.
"Oh,
This girl's eating all our
Oh.
peanuts.
She's still here.
But yeah, no, I think he is so freaking good, and the way he like the whole beginning scene too. I thought it was cool how like they get to this house. The mom is clearly like, "What the fuck is happening? We're living in a trailer on these like it's our house is on wheels. You can't even get into the front door. You have to climb. Like, what's happening?" And the dad's like, so ready. This is it. This is our dream. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to make this for my family. He's like, we should all like sleep on the floor together on the first night. And I thought that was super cute because, like, spoilers for the end. But the last night they end up sleeping all together, like on the floor in the living room. And I'm like, that's
I,
a good way to tie together a movie.
you know,
It's so cute.
And I thought back on that because obviously it's very obvious when you see them on the ground at the end, like sleeping together. It's like, oh yeah, he said that at the beginning. But when you really think about it, it's like, oh yeah, because as you watch him kind of progress throughout the movie, he seems so much like he's just so honed in on his farm, right? And he's not even really caring about his family's well-being as much as he is just like the image of it. But like you think back to that first night when it was like them setting stuff up and he's like, let's all sleep on the floor. It'll be fun. Like, he seemed like a different person at the beginning and end of the movie than he did at the middle. You know what I mean? Like he definitely had character growth, but it was almost like just the focus on making everything perfect and doing everything for his family, rightfully so, like kind of brought him down during the movie and then back up, which I thought was really cool. And kind of heartbreaking to realize, like, obviously their marriage had problems and their family had issues, like all families. But just to kind of see, like, when they moved there, things were a little bit better than they were kind of midway through. And I thought that was very touching.
Oh yeah, like completely. And I think the way they build, like you were right when you were saying, Omar, like the kids, the actors in these movies, it was the same with the other movie you just mentioned. I
Parasite?
can't think of the name.
Parasite.
Parasite, yes. Great movie. The actors, like the kid actors in these movies, if you have listened to any of our reviews before, you know I'm very critical on kid actors. They need to step their fucking game up. These kids were great. Like I didn't believe that they were acting. I believed that they were being real, and that's what it should feel like. And it was good.
I think it's so much easier to be critical of actors, whether they're younger or older, when it's a movie like this, right, where we're focused on one family.
Yeah.
it's a lot easier because you only have like 5 characters that you're really, honing in on. And I feel like usually movies like this, it's either the kids that, are charming and kind of like steal the show, or it's the adults, right? Like one of them
Yeah.
has to carry the load. Whereas here, they all complement each other. They're all fucking
Oh
like
yeah.
fantastic. And I mean, at no point is it, like when they're focusing on the kids home alone, are you like, okay, can't wait till we switch back to the parents, or
Right.
so. No, I thought it was fucking
I
amazing
agree with that
how they
too.
really complemented each other that
It's
well.
got to be easier too because you imagine since they're not having to interact with all these different other people, right? For
Right.
kids, it's like they're almost part of this family. Like I
Oh,
imagine
absolutely.
for the
Yeah.
entire time they're shooting this pre-production, all this stuff, they get to really like hone in on each other and work on their chemistry. And so it's probably just easier on kids to be like, okay, I'm interacting with this guy that is my dad, and that's
Right.
then my sister and stuff like that. Like there's just a couple dynamics that the little kid that played David had to do, and he was
God.
I mean,
Incredible kid.
you instantly
He was
think like
great.
this would be my little brother. You know what I mean? Like he's just like
Well,
he
and
has
that's the
that dynamic
thing.
to him.
Like his sister, it was so great, and it like honestly reminds me a lot of my own life because I have a niece and nephew, and they're very much like how the kids are in this movie. Like they're very caring towards each other and love each other and play with each other. They're like each other's best friends, and so you see that in this movie, and that's kind of the feeling you get, and it's because they aren't living with like where they're used to living. They're in like this whole new place. And so because of that, they are like relying and bonding and going through this together. And like the sister is so protective over her brother because he has this heart condition. And you get to see like how good of a sister she is to him. But then you get to see him like trying to be a kid, but can't really do things kids do. Like he can't run. And there's like this one scene where so we finally get introduced to the grandmother, and like he's walking really fast to go somewhere with her, and as he's like doing that, she's like looking at him, she's like telling him to run, and then he like says I can't run, and she's like you really want to run though, don't you? And that's when you see like how painful it is for him that he like actually literally can't go run, or he thinks he can't run. And so the pain of like that in a kid's mind and kid's
Yeah, of
eyes,
course.
that's like horrible. So
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
really got like I felt it through how he acted in that scene. Like it seemed like he really was struggling with that. And I find that so amazing that this little kid can act as a character
It's
that great.
capable of that.
I
Yeah.
know. It's
That's
great.
incredible.
Fucking talent, dude. Fucking
Yeah.
talent.
I know. And I think I think the
What's his
mom
name?
was great in this movie too. Monica. I think she was like one of the strongest characters. It's hard to even say who's strong in this movie because they're all strong characters,
Right.
but she like carried so many of the scenes too. Like the scene towards the end when it's like the final straw where she's like you literally chose your farm over your family. Like the conversation she has with Jacob, you could like see the pain in her eyes. Like you could see how hard it was for her, but she's trying to be so strong at the same time. So I just was really really into that scene and like their whole relationship and their dynamic and everything
Yeah.
anyway.
It's crazy
So
too because despite all the problems that they were having like throughout the movie, it was like even when they decided to kind of go their separate ways, what they were going to do, and then sitting in that hospital, right? She's still saying just like come with us, like don't
Yeah.
like leave the
yeah.
farm behind or whatever. Like she still wanted him. She was like I can't, didn't she say I can't do this without you?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh fuck, like despite everything, like she's not ready to, like she doesn't want to be done with him, like she doesn't want
Right.
to be done with this family. Like she still acknowledges that she needs him, the family needs him. And it was that moment where he finally, given the option, still said no, where it was like then that was the last straw. It's like you feel that. And yeah, that scene when they finally he gets what he wants, like they're gonna buy the farm's produce, whatnot, like he thinks everything's fine, and she's like no, like I saw your true colors, like
Yeah.
that sucked. You
Well,
know
it
what I
just
mean?
shows how much he changed because he was so focused on this dream without realizing that like his family should mean everything before anything else. And like
Yeah.
what he's wanting to do is great, but you can't throw away what you have for what you think you need.
Right.
It's like a cool message that was throughout this movie because I think anyone who's trying to accomplish something or a dream of theirs in their life, that's a hard thing to overcome, not because you don't love your family, but you want to be able to do other things. And at some point you're like, yeah, I do have to set time aside and I do need to be this person for myself and this person for the people that mean the most to me.
Right.
And so you're seeing like his internal struggle with that, and that there can be a middle ground, but it takes a lot of work within like with your wife, with your husband, with your family, like with anybody. It's going to take work. So you have to be like willing to put the work in. And I think you saw like his character progress and like see that throughout the movie. And it's God, it's so cool to me how movies can portray something like this in a less than 2 hour movie.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think
they
that's
they,
really
they took a
interesting.
they took a really interesting take on it because it was very realistic. And
Oh yeah.
anytime you try to take a realistic take on something, if you do it right, it works really well because people connect to it. But it's not always easy to do,
Yeah.
especially with actors where they're playing parents to much younger kids. It's not like these are teenagers where you can tell them what to do. These are
Right.
kids where they like you guys said have to at some point believe like, okay, we are kind of like these kind of are like my parents for the next
Mhm.
however
Right.
long. And like overseas, it's such a it's a huge deal. Of course, now like 2021 equality and all that, I think things are changing, things are improving.
Yeah,
But
hopefully.
years like a lot of years ago, it was a thing where like the man, especially like if he's moving his entire family, whatever, like the man has to succeed. There's no like yes or no. There's no like, okay, the wife's gonna carry the load. Like it's the man's job to provide for his family. And of course
Mhm.
that starts becoming a problem because it starts like it starts becoming a part of like your pride, especially for him, right?
Yeah.
100%.
In his mind, he has to succeed, whether it's for his family or not. He said he's going to do something. He's got to
He's
do it,
seeing it through. He
right?
even
Even
says
if
that.
it's yeah, even if it's going to hurt his family in the process, even if his family's going to end up leaving in the process, whatever. In his mind, yeah, he's got to do it because if not, then he's, I mean, in front of himself, in front of his kids, he's nothing. And I think it's really cool that they took that take on the movie and focused on that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, so we haven't even talked yet about this, but like when the grandma gets introduced into the picture, first of all, I looked her up. She's like a famous Korean actress. Like
mhm.
she's like beloved
She
pretty
killed
much,
it.
which she's so,
I'll
and I
watch any
see
movie
why,
with this
right.
lady in it.
She's amazing. And so this grandma gets thrown into the picture, and like the scene where like her daughter gets very emotional when her mom like arrives because she like misses her mom so much, and the mom's like, "Oh, I didn't realize you missed me this much." But like that, I feel like anyone can kind of relate to, because you're just like, wow, you haven't seen this person in so long that you care about and means so much to you in your life. So you're gonna be kind of overwhelmed when they finally can come and be with you. And the scene, like everything the grandma does for this family is like more than like, they don't realize it what's happening at the time, but she's like slowly helping them like remember who they are as a family, but also teaching them like life doesn't need to be always serious. Like have fun, let your children live, let your, not that they were being harsh on the children, but they were scared because they're the parents. So it's like the grandma's seeing stuff through other eyes, and she's really teaching them lessons, but not by shoving it in their face, just kind of by being loving and being caring. And like everything that happens with David and the grandma, it's like the best relationship in the movie. And it's so funny because he's being a little kid, so he's still saying like everything's your fault, I hate you, but he also still like kind of loves her and respects her and like thinks she's really cool, but he
As it
won't
goes
admit
on,
it.
yeah.
Like the
Um,
scene where he makes her drink pee.
I
I was
love
so
that scene.
nervous.
I thought something was gonna happen to him, man. Because
Me
when he
too.
runs out and he starts like grabbing his heart, I was like, this is
God,
I
this is it.
know. And that's the thing.
all
This
for a
movie kept
prank,
making me
boy.
think something terrible was going to
Oh,
happen.
I
And
was
it's
anxious
always
like
just
the entire
like,
time.
like it's kind of bad, but not awful, but that's normal.
Yeah.
So it's good. But yeah, the way the grandmother reacted to everything, I thought was
The
adorable.
she came in and she basically just neutralized the like tense situation this family had, right? And I feel like they did
Yeah.
it perfectly because just so much of everything she said and her humor was just felt like what some stuff that your grandma would say. And like we were not in a packed theater at all. There was probably, aside from us, maybe like 4 other people in there. But one line that I won't forget that got like an audible laugh out of like everybody, including our friend Angelo, who he's from Peru and he like kind of went through a similar situation,
Yeah.
like where they moved to America when he was young. And so kind of dealt with some of these things too. But when she gets there, right, and y'all are talking about how like she kind of came in and like kind of de-stress the kids out a little bit. And like the mom makes some kind of comment about how it's like the house is just on wheels or whatever. And the grandma just goes like, who cares? Like, that's fun. And like everybody laughed, and even Angelo, like I could hear him like 2 rows up just chuckled. And it's like, that is something that your grandma would say of like, yeah, don't stress about this. Like you're in a house that you're living. Like, yeah, there's no steps to get in. It's on wheels, and unfortunately, if a tornado comes, it could just blow the whole fucking thing away, and that would be terrifying every time it rains. But you know what I mean? Like, I think that is so much of why this worked too, especially her character.
And that was like her ongoing quote, like throughout the movie. Because even when she, like when David's getting punished for like giving his grandmother pee, he's like being punished, and the grandma's trying to stick up for him, and the whole reaction in that like scene as well is very much like what people who would want their grandmother or someone's grandmother who actually acts like that to be like. You want them to like love you no matter what, and they're the ones who have your back. And so she's just like, shut up, it's not that big of a deal, it was fun. And like, yeah, and she like literally drank urine. So but it was so sweet, and that like seeing how much she loved this family and these kids who she never really got to see and like just met for the first time. Like, that's what family is, and that's what this movie kind of shows you. It's like, no matter what little things or big things you're going through in your life, like your family's always there. Like they're always going to be there no matter what. Like even if you feed them urine, like
they ain't leaving
they're still they're your blood. So like they're
and
with you.
One last thing too on her that I thought was very just touching was David kept having that whole line throughout the movie, right, where he would just be like, you're not a real grandma, or you're not acting like a real grandma or whatever. And it was like, up until the point where she has the stroke, she very much is acting like a real grandma. Just that's not what he wants. She doesn't know, she can't cook, she can't bake him cookies, stuff like that. But she's
it's not the way you're like grandmas are depicted in like movies and shows and books.
But she's still being like so loving and basically letting the kids get away with murder like grandmas do. And then it is that turn. So she has the stroke, and then at that point she is just like, she can't really move around as much. For a long time, she's bedridden. She ultimately leads to what happens at the end of the movie with the farm and the fire and everything. Like, she very much is like debilitated. And I feel like that, though, is the turn where David starts to actually care about her more like grandma, when she's not anymore able to walk around and do stuff like a normal grandma. And it's like, then she becomes a grandma to him. And I feel like that kind of like reverse connection there was just really cool, in a way that like a kid is looking at it like, I want my grandma to make cookies, and then he finally feels like she's his grandma when now she can't even really like take care of him, but he feels that love finally. And it's like, it's just watching a little boy grow up in a movie, in a 2-hour movie, in a sense, is like insanely well done. Like, bravo.
Yeah. And honestly, when she's walking off the farm too, at the end, and he's running behind her, God. At that point, I was like, okay, obviously this is when it happens. Something's gonna happen with his heart, or something.
We're all just waiting for it.
I honestly, yeah, I thought they were gonna go. I was like, dude, something dramatic is about to happen.
Well, like, also, the doctor had just said like, don't do anything differently, and the first thing that this boy has to do that night is start fucking running full speed down a highway. Marathon, yeah. I was like, no.
Yeah. So I'm glad everything worked out for them at the end, though. And I definitely, man, yeah, the grandma, when she came in, she was like the comedic relief in a sense, because at that point, up until that point, things are just very like the anxiety is all time high. Like, okay, they've got to survive. This is a new environment. Another thing we didn't really talk about, but I actually did like, was even though they didn't have many interactions, their interactions with the people at the church, I like how they focused more on the kids instead. I mean, they could have played the whole race card. They could have made everyone there very racist and just a very bad experience, but instead they focused on the kids. And as a kid, obviously, yeah, just from your environment, you taught racism, right? It's not like you grew up racist, but when you see the kid asking, what's his name? Shit, I already forgot.
David.
When he asks him why he has a flat face, it's like you could feel like that's genuine curiosity. Like, he's not trying to be racist. He's not poking fun at him.
Yeah,
which was, they're in Arkansas. They don't see many like other. They're probably all cousins at some point. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways. So to him, he's honestly curious, and I thought that was cool. Instead of like having the two fathers have that sort of interaction, to where at that point, okay, that's a grown man. Obviously, he's trying to be funny. He's making a joke, like,
and it like It accomplishes by teaching a lesson, but without shoving it in your face. Because you get
Exactly.
to see the world through like a kid's eyes. And it's like, yeah. So when we first heard the kid say that, our immediate reaction is to freak out because we're like, that's such a racist thing to say. You don't do that. Like, you don't judge people by how they look. But he, like you said, genuine curiosity. He's just like,
Yeah.
I've never seen a person that looked like him before. Why does it look like this? And then whenever David said something, he was just like, "Oh, okay." Like it wasn't like like you're different than me, so I'm going to be mean to you
Exactly.
kind of thing. And that was something I feel like people don't show in movies
It's
very
hard
often. So
to.
I found it really like even the interaction
It's
with the daughter and the little girl
yes. I
where
mean
she's
that
like, "Stop me when I say something in your language."
because the setup
And
of that feels like a weirdly like racist joke that this kid's making,
right, but
right?
that's
So
what
And
it
that's
could
the thing.
it's
be.
so tricky to do,
If
but then yeah,
if they had the two moms do that, it
right.
would have been completely
Because
different.
right,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
you
so
can't
different.
you don't sympathize with a grown adult that isn't cultured
That
enough to
knows
realize
better.
that like, hey,
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't know Chinese, but like a young child, Korean, yeah, my bad, but like a like a young child that is sitting there like trying to like figure out this language is just a lot more like you can sit there and sympathize where it's like, she really wouldn't know Korean. Like, and so the second where she's like, stop me, and she finally does, and she's like, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just,
Yeah.
it's
It's
very
Genuinely.
cool.
heartwarming because
Yeah.
it's almost like teaching adults a lesson. Like try not that we should go around and do things like that, but just like be open-minded to anyone who's different. Like you don't have to look at this in a bad way or look at people in a bad way. Like everyone's human and everyone's alive. So there's no other way to look at it other than that. And I think seeing it through kids' eyes is the best way to see it because they literally just learn from each other. Like they learned from each other in that situation.
Right.
And I just find that like a really beautiful message. So this movie, bravo. They've done so many great things. And then
Couldn't agree
we get
more.
to the end when like the whole big barn scene where everything's on fire and they just had this huge fight. Like the mom and dad literally pretty much agreed that they were splitting up before that happened. They drive home, the barn's on fire, and of course, Jacob like takes off running to go save what he's been working so hard for, and his wife without like a second thought runs into the burning barn with him to like
Yeah.
save everything that he's worked for. And like throughout that whole process, eventually it gets to the point where he and her are yelling for each other because then he's realizing what he's putting her through and what she's
Yeah.
doing for him. And
Man, I
so
was so nervous
that's
when
when
that
you
happened.
see the connection. Like it takes sometimes something disastrous to remind you of what you have. And that's what this movie does. And it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful movie. I adore the story that they decided to do for this. It's like such a simple story, but yet has so much meaning and heart to it. Bravo is
I
what I
agree. Have
have
you
to
guys
say.
realized too the two Korean movies we've seen recently? They all just focus on like a family or two families at
Yeah,
most. Just a small. I really enjoy movies like that actually
me
because it's like you
too.
get to
It's so much more
it's a
like just
fresh take.
intimate and yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
You actually feel like you're a part of this family
it's
at some point.
and yeah, for a simple story, I mean, it's got to be more difficult to write this because yeah, you don't have some big draw of like a war or a
Exactly.
zombies, something crazy that people instantly
yeah,
relate to. It's like this is a movie. If you're gonna try to take it away from the family, what's it about? It's about farming. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah,
pull isn't really there. It has to be so well made and acted, and all those like intricate parts of their like the family's relationship have to be there and make sense and feel real and that's why you look at this movie and it's like this is really fucking well made
what are
because
you
otherwise it
laughing
wouldn't have
at?
worked.
I just in my stupid little mind, I made a silly connection. I was like, what if at the end of the movie they're on a farm, right? And then the camera just like slowly shifts and we see like the back of Thanos with his little fucking teapot.
Oh my
Dude,
god.
dude,
I know.
that is so weird that your mind went there because my mind wanders all the time. And about halfway through the movie, I thought like, what if Marvel ever made a movie about like a family on a farm in 2 hours and the twist at the end is Thanos comes
Yeah,
in? That
You
is
know
so
what I
weird
can
that your
say?
brain went there.
When I was watching this movie, didn't ever think that Thanos would be in the background.
Like the rest
'cause
of the
I'm normal,
population, Bailey.
So
It's only me and Omar that thought of that.
Yep.
freaks.
You heard it here first.
You did. It's just like Tobey Maguire all over again.
He comes in
Don't
anyway.
even.
So honestly, I think I can say for all of us that this movie was beautiful and we really appreciate films like this and I hope more come out. I really do. Like I hope we get more movies like this with more of a feeling and heart and from seeing different families from all over the world. Like we deserve to see that. We need to see that because that is what the world is, right? So like
You guys
we
should
should
definitely
see
see
it
it.
all.
Yes.
So all in all, we all say go see this movie.
Go see it. Go see
Or
it if
rent
it's
it,
a
or
plan.
do
Rent
whatever
it
you
because
need
I
to
don't think
do.
it's in theaters anymore. I'm being honest.
Oh, well, you missed your
Well,
chance.
The one we.
But yeah,
Rent it, rent it.
Eventually,
It's the same
when you can
experience.
watch it. Yeah, just like watch it.
Yeah.
We say so.
Also, Stephen Yeun, fucking hell of a head of hair.
Oh my god.
Oh my
beautiful.
god. His hair was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. A lot of people actually wanted him to play Nightwing just because of his hair.
It'd been awesome.
How, like, a fucking,
He'd be perfect. Like this
Oh
man
my
would be
God.
perfect. Perfect.
I know.
Holy shit. That just got me way too excited. We need to start a freaking petition as soon as possible to get this man as Nightwing.
I'm on
Oh
it.
my freaking god. But anyway, if you like stuff like this that we do, subscribe to us, leave comments, tell us what you've thought about the movie, or go watch the movie and then tell us what you think about the movie. If you listen to this whole thing though and hadn't seen the movie yet, you're kind of weird for doing that. So,
That's
like,
weird that you're into that.
whatever.
Very weird.
But yeah, subscribe to us because we do shit like this all the time. And then also, again, come back Thursday because we're talking about the new episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier and Zemo, which is what I'm calling the show now because that's what it should
Wow.
be.
There you go.
I've added him
Don't
in.
forget, you always can just like comment and ask us questions or like suggest anything you want to see us talk about because we'll do it all. But yeah, until then, go buy a farm.